before I give any advice, I want to define a term first because I think that actually might be the whole problem. There's a couple things that could be the whole problem. I just don't want to hand them a list of activities or advice when I don't really have a good understanding of the problem. Highly qualified, the term sounds like it might be neutral. It sounds like it could be measured, but oftentimes when you get under the hood, it's not very measured, at least not by anything concrete. So my first move as a consultant isn't to hand the director a list of activities. It's to figure out whether her department has a broken system or a working system. If it's broken, it needs repair. If it's working, it just needs to be refined. So step one, research actually gives us a really good first step here. Regardless if it needs to be refined or if it needs to be repaired, research tells us that by assigning someone, putting someone in charge, gets you lots of good results. So Alexandra Kalev at Tel Aviv University, Frank Dobbin from the University of Harvard, and Aaron Kelly from MIT Sloan built the largest data set that exists on this question. How do we get more qualified applicants, specifically diversify qualified applicants? And after 30 years of data and something like 700 companies studied, their findings were very consistent. A single diversity training didn't really move the needle. What actually works is naming someone to be responsible for the outcome that they want. A task force, a diversity officer, a person whose job it is to own the search. So my first concrete recommendation is not an event or activity. It's just to put somebody in charge. It's somebody to drag it across the finish line. Someone who's going to say, I am accountable for this. I take ownership of that. Now, once you have somebody who owns it, then the activities that you're going to be doing start to matter a little bit. And so we'll quickly move through some activities to help this hiring director find their applicant that they like. All right, so a study out of the Journal of Higher Education looked at almost 700 faculty searches and found that regular searches posted the normal way produce underrepresented hires only 5% of the time. So if you were to go about it undisciplined, unintentional, this is what this means. You 5% of the time, you got what you were looking for. You got to be intentional when you want a specific type of result. Searches that use active recruitment strategies produce dramatically more diverse finalist pools. So here's what this actually means. An active recruitment strategy looks like advertising the position at venues where underrepresented scholars are actually present, not just on the standard job boards. It makes sense. If you're looking for a specific type of person, you have to go where those people are. You can't just expect them to find you. You have to go where they are. So that's the very first thing. You got to be intentional about that. Attending discipline-specific conferences that have diversity forums and caucuses built in, somewhere where that type of innovation is teeming inside that society is important. Go there. Partnering with doctoral fellowship pipelines, things like the Ford Foundation Fellowship Network, finding these scholars before they actually hit the job market was very successful. You kind of tapped into what they were doing before they became very competitive candidates for other institutions. So building that relationship early was a very good strategy. And building a search committee, this is probably by far the biggest thing. Building a search committee where the committee is made up of more than one demographic. The study found that even one other demographic, a part of the search committee, produced better outcomes. So that is one thing you can start doing. The second activity is going back to the definition that I talked about, and that's rewriting the qualification section itself before the first post goes out. So before anyone is contacted, before anyone is reached out to, Dominique White Lewis, now at the University of Pennsylvania, suggests that you put together a bulletproof rubric to know exactly what you're looking for. Now he's at the University of Pennsylvania, and he sat inside real search committees and found that only about a quarter of the candidate cuts were based on defined qualifications. So that means if you got 4 candidates that come in, one of those candidates were disqualified, if you will, from candidacy because of something concrete. A lot of the times they were using the term highly qualified, and it wasn't very solid. It was based off of vibes, if you will. And so having a rubric, something concrete that you can say, this person meets the requirements that we're looking for, perhaps skills, hard skills that we're looking for to say yes or no to, is very profitable. So before a single applicant comes in, it's important that the rubric is in place and that people know exactly what impactful means or highly qualified. That's really important. Now, the third and final activity is knowing when to use a special hire. Now, the same study found that special hire mechanism, things like the target of opportunity hire, a wave search for an exceptional candidate, or a shortened timeline because they found a candidate they were looking for, these are actually really good things. They weren't backdoor solutions, if you will. They were actually very useful, but it's being okay with them. They're legitimate ways, they're legitimate tools, but you can only utilize them once you have a rubric put together by a dedicated committee to recognize these incredible opportunities. And so this is how they all work hand in hand. So if I'm handing the director a short list, it looks like this. Name someone to be accountable before anything else. Recruit actively in spaces where candidates already are, not just where the postings usually go. And diversify the committee in charge of putting together a rubric to find the people that you're looking for. If you do these things, I believe that you'll find the results that you're looking for. Thank you.